Well, we're live. So while you share that, I'll go ahead and do the intro to the show in your intro. Hi, Facebook people. It's me again. You can see my doorknob right there. This is a real background, not virtual. Yeah, here I am. People say I look like Marilyn Monroe, so I have her picture here just so you know I don't. I don't look like her. And so we're here. These interviews were designed so you people at home, when you go to a comedy club, you'll come away, your chances of coming away happy with the comic is much higher because you'll get to know them off stage and see if you really like them and connect with them. So that's your chance today here. We have an esteemed guest named Jim Taylor sitting over there in the other square.
Esteemed, huh?
He's a big deal. I've got
a resume now. I have a new adjective.
You guys got to follow him and see him live. I've seen him live. He tears up a room and he's just fabulous. I would like to read you his intro right now. Let me see if I can do this without my glasses. This should be fun. Here we go. I'm going to squint. Get ready. Whether on a comedy club stage or at an industrial or corporate venue, this former radio talk show host is at home. Jim has shared a stage with a variety of performers, from Judy Tenuta, rest in peace, to Jim Brewer. On his comedy talk show, Jim's guests included Jeff Foxworthy, Bobby Slayton, Kathleen Madigan, and Weird Al Yankovic. He has performed at countless fundraisers, charity events, and auctions for a variety of worthy organizations, acting as host, entertainment, and as an auctioneer. Corporate events intrigue him because he is given the opportunity to provide customized humor geared towards the particular company or industry. And he also does something very special in Orange County that we'll get into as well, that he has not yet disclosed, but I know about him. So let's give it up right now, here at Comic Spot for the one, the only Jim Taylor. Hi.
I can hear my mom clapping too. That's awesome. That's awesome. I got to work on that bio or that intro. Good Lord, that's kind of sad and boring, isn't it?
No, I liked
the
it.
Esteemed, though. I'm going to try and find a way to work esteemed into like 10 sentences today. How was my esteemed cashier today? You know, I like that.
You are my esteemed guest. You're doing everything out there in Orange County. You're helping the comedy community a lot. You give comedians a chance. I've seen you do that at the Improv. And I know that you're doing special events that people aren't even aware of out there. I've seen you perform with Rita Rudner, for God's sake.
The esteemed Rita Rudner.
Exactly.
That's one. I got 9 more.
So I met Rita and I gave her a Godiva chocolate. And I said, here's the Godiva, but for you, we'll call it Godiva. And she said, please leave me alone now. No, she said, I want that line. And I said, you can have it.
That's a great line. I performed with her twice. Once I opened for her, which was great, and once I followed her.
What?
And only because she's Rita. You know, she's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do the show, but I really want to get home early, so I'm going to go on second. I'm like, are you kidding? Everybody's going to go home after you leave. And I got to tell you, I was terrified. I mean, because Rita walks out on the stage, all she has to do is say, hello, and everybody dies. I mean, people were dying before she even delivered the punch, and I'm like, how am I going to follow that? But I survived and lived to tell you about it. But she's great.
Tell me how I just followed Ron Jossel, who's number 3 in Canada. And if it wasn't for a new host that brought the energy down by accident after Ron, I would have bombed. How did you follow Rita Rudner?
Well, they were primed. I mean, we had the MC came out, the opener came out, she came out and just destroyed the room. And then I had one of the best sets I ever had. And I think I was
Oh,
at 25, and the audience was just so enamored with comedy by the time she did. So it wasn't so much that I had bonded with them as she had set the audience up to love to laugh, to already forget about what a bitch it was to find parking, the food was late or the burger was cold, my drink is wrong, and I haven't seen you in 6 months. How you been? How are the kids? And that she got them to forget all about that and stay in the moment. So actually, I got to walk into that space, and I think that's what it was. My jokes were like mediocre, but she set the space, and that I got to share in that, and that was amazing. I'll never forget that.
oh, that's a beautiful story. It's giving me goosebumps.
Really, I can
Yeah,
take the shirt off. That'll get rid of those goosebumps fast.
this is esteemed. This is an esteemed moment. I
Damn.
guess that's
Now
how
you
you
get
say
credit for that one. I don't get credit unless I tag. Can you tag me in that credit, and that way I can.
it. Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, let's talk a little bit about you growing up. I don't know why I have to hear who you were when you were 5 and 6 and 7, but I do. So, could we just talk about funny Jim Taylor? I can't imagine a moment where you weren't funny.
Oh God. Well, it helped that I was born funny looking, so that actually helped that a lot. I was born in Canada. I was raised in Toronto. Lived in England for a while, 6 months, 8 months. Moved back to Canada, and then in 1976 moved to the States as a sophomore in high school.
So when our men, our supposed soldiers were going to Canada, you came to America.
Exactly. That's a funny story though. When the draft dodgers were going up to Canada in the summertime, they would come into Toronto and they'd have like toboggans and sleds on their cars, and I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, we're going to Canada, and it's like there's no snow in Toronto in June. I mean, come on. That was hilarious. Like, so we were getting the best and the brightest at that time.
So you come to America in 1976. Where did you land?
Came to Laguna Hills, South Orange County, and I just fell in love with the area. I graduated from high school here. I stuck around. I went to Japan for a year for engineering training, and then I worked for a Citizen Watch company. So
which watch?
Citizen Watch.
Yeah.
I worked for them, and one of their subsidiaries. They sent me to Japan for a year. I was the tallest person in the country. That was fun. And then came back. I went off and on to Moscow, Russia, for over 7 years, running an animation studio there back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Running an animation scenario. Wow.
But now I'm done. I'm a homebody. I don't want to go anywhere. I've done my traveling. I don't even like to drive to LA for comedy, because that takes longer to get to LA from Orange County than to get to Moscow. So
it does. The commute's a bear.
Sometimes it takes 4 hours to get to Burbank from here, and it's only like 75 miles. So no thanks.
Geez. No, you can fly better.
Yeah. Well, I don't do that anymore, not since the 70s. But oh, you meant on an airplane. Okay, got it. But I don't know that I guess I was a kind of a class clown, but I didn't have any structure or discipline. So yeah, I used to try and do anything for a laugh, and I used to get in trouble at school for that. Trying to be funny and interrupting the teachers. And unfortunately, at the time when I grew up in Canada, we had corporal punishment. We actually got spanked, which introduced me to a whole new side of that lifestyle. So I'm still getting spanked, but now it's by choice. But yeah, it was always risky to be the class clown, because if you bombed, you went to the principal's office. If you didn't bomb, then teacher would be like, all right, Jimmy, that was funny, now shut up.
Did you pull practical jokes like I did?
No, because I wasn't good at them. I would try, and it would be overkill, and then, you know, there'd be all sympathy for the victim and I was the bad guy and it wasn't funny. So I learned early on, yeah, that's not my thing. So I didn't do that anymore.
What's the funniest thing you did growing up in school?
Oh, good Lord. I tried to block out most of those memories. The funniest thing. I know you sent me a note on this and I've been agonizing for days over it. You know, I honestly, I can't think. The funniest thing that I did in school.
I'll tell you what I did.
Okay.
Me and my girlfriend, we dressed up alike. We had surfer shirts. This was like in 1959. We had big striped surfer shirts alike, pencil skirts with kick pleats, matching knee-high socks and shoes. And we went to school looking identical on a regular day and got sent to the principal. And where he said, "What are you going to do next? Matching earmuffs?" And we were like, "We forgot earmuffs. We should have done earmuffs." That's the funniest thing. It was so fun to get in trouble.
Growing up, I hated school. I mean, there was never a time in my life that I liked school. So I could not wait to get out and be done and grow up. I just, structured environment was never my thing. I mean, I worked for companies where there was a structured environment. I don't do well in a structured environment. So I've been self-employed many, many times. And now I landed this job that I have now, been working at it for 12 years, where I work at home. I've got nice hours. I have a boss who's not even in this country. And I love it. You know, this way I'm completely judged on merit, 100% merit, and not having to play the political games, none of that crap. If there's any office rivalry going on, it's me and my two dogs, you know, so that, and generally since I feed them, I win. So it doesn't matter. The drama's kept to a minimum. They do carry a grudge. They do carry a grudge. But,
these two esteemed dogs you speak of, what breed are they?
One is, well, when we got the first one, my wife is a serial rescuer, by the way, just so you know that. So everything we have is a rescue. Our first dog, they told us it was a Chiweenie. No way. This thing looks like he's a half mini dachshund, half Rhodesian Ridgeback. Seriously. So that's what we kind of figured out, because he has the ridges. I mean, I would have paid a fortune to watch that mating. I mean, a little mini dachshund and a Rhodesian. I mean, what they do? Just like put the mini dachshund on there and give it a spin. I just, but, and then the second one was, what is she? She's Chihuahua and Jack Russell.
Wow, and, that's a cute combo.
And actually, that's the one that I rescued because I saw her picture on Facebook. And the face, and I posted on Facebook, so if you go to some old posts, it's probably on there. But the face of this dog that the rescue lady was holding, I took it to my wife. I go, look at the dog's face. Look at that face. That is the same look you give me when I try out new material. I had to have her. So we went down to the rescue. The dog hadn't eaten in 3 days, was listed as vicious, bites people, and would only take food from me.
Oh.
And it's like, so then we were like, well, how do we get her? And they said, well, you have to go through a foster program. So we signed up for the foster program. Dog's been with us for 3 years now. So she's sweet. And my wife also has 3 rescue horses.
No way. Tell me about that. How'd that start?
But she used to, when she was a kid, she used to ride. She used to love to ride horses. And then, you know, as we got into our older years, she's like, I want to get back into horseback riding. I go, yeah, but that's kind of, and own a horse, but that's a forever thing. You know, it's not like you just go buy a horse and go, I don't want it anymore. And so we decided she'd go lease a horse, because you can do that. You know, I leased the horse Tuesday morning, that kind of thing. It's my horse for these 4 hours. And she was spending all week down at the stables, even though she was only leasing the horse. She was so into it. So she says, okay, I want to get a rescue. Well, the horse is easy to get. Stables are not. You got to find a place to park the horse when you're not using it. And so there's a waiting list on these. So we're like, okay, well, we can't go find a horse until we have the stable. So she put her name in, she got a stall, and then she went shopping. And we found this horse down in San Diego County that had been part of 4 horses that were seized by the FBI in a raid on a couple that were running massive Ponzi schemes. And so the FBI arrested them. They went to trial. They went to jail. Then they started to distribute the assets. It was a year. If it wasn't for the undocumented gardener who was feeding those horses out of his own pocket for a year, those 4 horses would have starved to death. So when we got ours, he was 400 pounds underweight, but they were all alive. And that guy, if we could find that guy, I mean, not only give him a green card, but give him a freaking medal and set him up for that. Can you imagine? You're undocumented. You're a guy working as a gardener, and you spend a year feeding 4 horses. I mean, he obviously he couldn't feed them what they needed, but he fed them, or what they wanted. He fed them what they needed because I mean, hay's expensive. And that guy just blew my mind. I have no idea who he is, but God bless him. And then my wife got him home, the horse home, and they instantly bonded. Oh, the funny story about that. Okay, I know you want to talk about comedy, but
Oh no, this is great for people to get to know you.
we actually didn't go down to that rescue to see that horse. She went to go see another horse, and that horse, Remington, the scrawny 400-pound underweight, ribs sticking out, limping a little bit, was in the arena. And so my wife's checking out this stallion, you know, like how blondes always do. And so she's like loving on the stallion. And I know nothing about horses. I don't even know where the key goes. I don't know how you start them. I nothing. All I know is they're big and they star in cowboy movies. And I'm just watching this going, okay, yeah, she's loving this stallion. And then Remington, the scrawny little thing, starts nudging her with his nose. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not impressed. I know nothing. Meanwhile, the lady from the rescue grabs my arm. And I'm just like, chick, I'm married, you know, she's right here, you know. I mean, can't we go behind the hay bale or something? But so, and I'm still not thinking anything. And I go, what? And the lady goes, that's not normal. And I'm like, is he going to bite her? And my wife's ignoring her because she's just enthralled with the stallion, you know. It's kind of like when we first met, you know. So I'd seen the look before. Actually, no, I've never seen that look before. But she, then the horse gets tired of her ignoring. So he walks over, takes his head, plops it on her shoulder. And then I looked over to the rescue lady. I go, that's not normal either? And she goes, no. And I just said, honey, I think he picked you.
Oh.
She turned around, she looked at him, and she's just like, oh, he's cute. So we've had him for like 9 years now. And then she got a second, and then she got a third. So I mean, now we're eating top ramen. But horses, especially in South Orange County, are insanely expensive. But yeah, the horses themselves, to get them are cheap. It's the upkeep. But yeah, she loves them. She spends in 9 years, she's missed maybe 3 days, 7 days a week. She's missed 3 days of going down to the stables where I had to go down there and do stuff, and that's only because of COVID.
Wow.
She had COVID twice, and just bedridden. So that's the only thing that stopped her from going to the stables. So for 9 years, she's been going down 7 days a week, spending 3 to 5 hours a day. I mean, I wish I could have something like that, you know, passion like that. The commitment's astounding. I keep asking her, you still like them, right? She, oh my God, I love them. She's there now. She just said goodbye, and she'll be back around 3 o'clock, all cowgirled out with hay in her. That's the other thing. When you're married to a horse person, you have hay everywhere. Everywhere. There's hay in the bed. There's hay in the pillowcases. There's like a trail of hay.
No horses in the bed.
No, but if we could get a bigger bed, because we have the 2 dogs sleep with us, so thank God they're little dogs, but yeah, we're gonna need a bigger bed. And she rescues lizards.
No way.
Yeah, at one point we had a chameleon and 2 of those bearded dragons. Now we just have 1 bearded dragon yet. She goes to the pet store, and they've got an aquarium there that says, because somebody brought it back because the kid didn't like it, you know, free bearded dragon or free baby chameleon. My wife's like, got it. So we actually had a whole terrarium set up and a big thing in the living room with all these exotic species. But yeah, serial rescuer.
I rescue dogs, and I have really bad dog radar. I pick up dogs that are dying. I've rescued 2 dogs that needed to be put down within a month.
Yeah, but you made them comfortable and happy and loved in that last month. So that's an amazing thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's special. So tell me about what's going on. You've been in comedy how many decades? 30?
I used to always, yeah, not 30 decades. I mean, I may look old, but when I said I graduated high school, it was not with Moses. But
I meant 3.
yeah, I've been telling everybody 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, but evidently I've been telling them 20 years for at least the past 10 years. And it wasn't until I was sitting there watching some show on TV that my wife makes me watch. You know, when she gives you the remote and says, here, I can't find anything, watch something, and you're changing the channel to something she wants to watch. So we're watching like Pimp Out My Closet or Succulents Gone Wild or something on the home network. So of course I do what I'm supposed to do. I start Googling myself on my phone, and I found an article from 1991 in the LA Times, and it's like about me, and I'm just like, holy crap, 91, 2001, 2011. Oh my God, I've been doing this for like 31, 32 years, because I'd already been doing it before they wrote the article. So yeah, it's been a while. But my wife did say something sweet, because it was 1991. I was doing a fundraiser. The organization was very sad. Sexually abused, handicapped kids, disabled. We called them handicapped back then. Sexually abused, special needs children with normal or high IQs, and that was critical, because that was a niche, and there were no group homes or foster homes that could take care of quadriplegic 8-year-old girls that had been sexually abused, that knew what was going on. So and typically it was 8 to 10 kids a year would go through the system, but they'd wind up in nursing homes. One blind girl wound up in juvie, only because they had to have healthcare facilities and everything else, and counselors and all that. So this psychiatrist put together a charity, put together homes, got state funding, and we were doing fundraisers for it. It was the most horrific thing. I actually sat on his board for a while until the first house was made. So then we started having our board meetings at the house, and I actually started seeing the kids in person. And I was like, what, 31, 32, and filled with homicidal rage that what people can do to other people.
Yeah.
So I resigned from the board. But that was the start of when I got involved into everything else, into the whole mental health thing and nonprofits. That was the one that kind of wet my whistle that, wait a minute, you're doing all this stuff free, and why are you doing it free? Oh my God, this actually makes me feel good. So she's a serial rescuer, I'm a serial volunteer. That's what all this stuff on the wall is. That's my wall of Jim.
Tell me some of
Oh, you know what? Hey, you know who this is? Fritz Coleman. Can we hang out one sec?
Yeah, man.
Hey, Fritz. I'm right in the middle of a podcast with Linda Marcus Smith. No, when Fritz Coleman calls, you stop what you're doing and you talk to Fritz.
How's the weather?
Yep. Okay. Well, we actually have Vicky Vargas in her own. See, Fritz is the Grand Marshal for the Laguna Niguel Holiday Parade. That's going to be December 10th on Crown Valley Parkway. This is a live podcast, by the way. Crown Valley Park. No, Fritz, Fritz, you never interrupt. Isn't it true, Linda? If Fritz Coleman calls, you stop what you're doing.
Better. I'm dying to interview.
It's kind of like, honey, undo the handcuffs. Fritz is on the phone. I got to talk to him now. It's like, and she's like, I get it. Here's your blindfold back. Can I call you in about an hour? 9 o'clock? Perfect. I have a whole package for you, and I look forward to seeing you next Saturday, sir. Never. You call again. All right. If you can get Biden to call in, that would be awesome too. All right. Thanks, Fritz. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Wow. Look at you go.
That is the kind of stuff that only happens in movies, but that was awesome. Perfect timing, right? Yeah,
What
actually,
are some of the nonprofit things you've been involved in that you're so proud of that are?
well, currently, I mean, I never thought I'd grow up to be the parade guy, but I used to, I was in radio for a while, and then I got involved in announcing parades, which is kind of fun. You get a script, the entries come by, the scripts are usually boring. You get to gin them up a little bit, throw in some family-friendly G-rated humor, things like that. And I really enjoyed announcing. And then I started being in charge of the announcers and coordinating the announcers. And then I got involved with the scripts because the scripts are dry, so we started getting into that. And in 2017, and I was doing that for 2 parades. And then in 2017, I was elected president of the one in San Juan Capistrano and chairman of the one in Laguna Niguel, and I've been doing that ever since. So now I get to do it all. I get to have my fingers in all of it. The Laguna Niguel parade, 15, 20,000 people come to that. The holiday parade, the parade in San Juan Capistrano, which is the largest or one of the largest equestrian-only parades in the country. We get 400 to 500 horses. We drew almost 50,000 people this year. 22 announcers along the parade route, so it's huge. But and I get to pick the Grand Marshal. And being in this world, got Rita Rudner to be Grand Marshal Laguna Niguel a couple of years ago. Fritz Coleman, I asked him. I ask Fritz every year, but Fritz always has something because he was doing the Hollywood Boat Parade as a Grand Marshal. This year he had a date was open, so we got Fritz. For the Swallows Parade, we've got Dennis Quaid. I did an event with Dennis a couple of years ago, and we hit it off. And I saw him performing in March, and I went into the green room and asked him if he would be the Grand Marshal. And then, of course, big celebrities there. I mean, they're traveling all over the world. You get nervous. It's like, are they going to remember? I mean, this is a cool thing, but it's not the Rose Parade. So it's a cool thing. Yeah, we're going to get 50 to 70,000 people this year because of the COVID and everything else. It was a lot of things that happened over the past 3 years. And so our attendance is going to go up in that area, 20, 30%. But you get nervous, who's going to be available? He's going to have to shoot something. So I didn't make the official announcement. And then July 4th, I was doing an event where it's going to be about 10,000 people. And I wanted to announce that Dennis Quaid was the Grand Marshal. So I texted him, okay, Dennis, I know we talked back in March, but are you still in? He texted back, I'm in, looking forward to it. So I announced it to the world. Everybody got all excited. And then come November, I started getting insecure again. Oh, I haven't talked to him since July. So he texted me, happy Thanksgiving. I'm like, happy Thanksgiving, Dennis. Are we still good for March 25th? And he's like, we're good. So I figure I got until maybe February before insecurity hits again. And I'll hit him up one last time. But yeah, so I do the parades. Been doing that for quite a while. The Swallows Parade, which is huge, keeps me busy for the first quarter of the year. The Laguna Niguel Holiday Parade keeps me busy for the last quarter of the year. And I'm like, okay, well, I got 2 quarters. What can I do? So believe it or not, I am the chair for the Festival of Butterflies.
Which is, when is that?
That is in August. And we had about 8,000 people come down. And there we talk about the plight of the monarch butterfly specifically, and then tying in all the other pollinators, just to generate awareness. We're not preaching anything. We're not preaching the climate change. We're not preaching any of that stuff. We're just saying there is a problem. There's a problem with the bees. There's a problem with the butterflies. Here are some things that you can do to help the pollinators. Because I believe the scientists who say that if the pollinators go, we go. If it wasn't for these pollinators out there in the farmer's fields doing their little work, and it's going to be an issue. So I'm not doing it. I like the premise of what it is, but I'm an event whore. So I got to do this event, and so I do that every year. And that's fun. That takes care of half of quarter 2 and half of quarter 3. And then I'm also a couple of years ago I was appointed to the Orange County Mental Health Board. Also back in 2017, I was chair for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So I do a lot with suicide prevention. And as you know, comedians have a high suicide rate. We've lost a lot of well-known comics to suicide. but we've lost a huge number of unknown comics to suicide. And you and I both know comics are basically a little weird to begin with. We think differently. It's hard for us to have a serious conversation because our brains are always searching for some way to illustrate the absurd, just some way. And we're working, even when we're not working, we're working, and it's really hard. And that takes a lot of stress. So a lot of comics self-medicate. A lot of comics do have, like everybody else, have underlying mental health issues. And sometimes it just blows up, and it only gets the press when somebody famous does it. But being friends with thousands of comics on Facebook, how many times have you seen the posts where so-and-so took their own life, or so-and-so passed away, and they're hush-hush about the reason? It happens a lot. So I was at the Improv doing a show. The people from the suicide prevention group came up, asked me if I would MC an event. And I went, cool, because I'm an event whore. And I went and did it. And then somehow wound up being on the board, elected chair, did that for 5 years. That was the qualification that got me to be appointed to the Orange County Mental Health Board, which was state mandated board, California state mandated board. The governors said that every county must have this board in place to advise the supervisors of all the, their opinion of anything mental health. And then they folded in substance abuse and addiction, especially with the fentanyl crisis. So it's people from all different walks of life. You got political appointees, which I am. I'm a political appointee from one of the supervisors. And then you've got people who have lost somebody to overdose, somebody who's lost somebody to suicide, people who are veterans, people that are supporting hardcore psychiatric disorders. So they get a wide variety of people to advise the supervisors. And I've been doing that for almost 3 years now.
That's so awesome.
It's just wild. I mean, again, but it's volunteer, but it's just wild. And understanding the problem. I mean, especially with fentanyl right now, I don't understand why we're not taking this shit more seriously. Our fentanyl deaths nationwide are the same as our COVID deaths at the peak of the pandemic, when we shut the entire country down, and yet we're losing over 300 people a day nationwide to fentanyl poisoning. And we're not talking about addicts on the street. We're talking about kids, college kids, who have to get through an exam, so they go to their buddy to get an Adderall so they can study all night. The Adderall is laced with fentanyl. 5 minutes later, the kid's dead. So, I mean, we've been giving out Narcan, the nasal spray Narcan. I've given out cases and cases of this stuff. And actually, the Swallows Day Parade. It's a big Western festive parade. And we have a street fair, which attracts about 25,000, 30,000 people. We have live country music. We have hay bales, people dancing. We have vendors and food. I had a group there. We gave out over a case of free Narcan. I had my suicide prevention group. They have a booth there. We make sure that we have a lot of mental health booths interspersed in Festival of Butterflies. It's all butterflies. It's all pollinators. Oh, look, there's the Behavioral Health Advisory, but they're giving out Narcan at a butterfly festival. So what does that do? That gets people to start the conversation in a non-threatening environment and helps to reduce the stigma. So we have a lot of insane conversations with people who normally wouldn't go to a mental health forum. They wouldn't go to a mental health pavilion to go talk about their grandson's addiction problems. But they see us, or they see some of my people at these events, they'll circle the booth a few times. We call them circlers. We're very original that way. And then eventually they'll come in and they'll talk about their friend's kid, and then ultimately it winds up being their kid, their grandkid. But it's all non-threatening. And my big thing on the mental health has been to reduce stigma, get people to talk about it. We're all messed up in some way. Sometimes it's chemical, sometimes it's environmental, and sometimes we're just jerks. But we all have something. And the best way to address it and fix it is to get rid of the stigma, get rid of the labels, get rid of the negativity. Bad enough that somebody's fighting depression. It's worse if somebody starts ridiculing them, criticizing them, telling them to get over it, snap out of it. Let's get meaningful conversations. Let's shine a light on it. Take it out of the darkness. I'm sorry, I'm doing my spiel now. But
no, I couldn't agree with you more.
That's what's been driving with me outside of comedy. You know, my wife's got the horses. I've got my things. I got my things. So yeah, I do a lot of events. I probably do 40. I'm doing a cat rescue tomorrow.
Oh,
Really
wow.
good for a cat rescue in San Clemente at the Elks Lodge. It's for Dream Kitty Rescue. You local people, you want to go to this Elks Lodge in San Clemente tomorrow. But it's a fun event. We actually have Improv City coming in to do improv for the guests, and then I try and suck money out of them, you know, to save the kitties. Think of the kitties. But at most of the events that I try to do, I try to get something mental health in there. You know, just it. Who knew? Who knew that was going to be my thing? I don't do jokes about it. I
What's
mean,
that?
really, I don't do jokes about it.
Yeah.
I don't do any, there's nothing and I don't mind if other people do, but I think for me it would be hypocritical. And
Absolutely.
I do have some really funny stories, but no.
So I'm a military veteran,
Okay.
and I've gone and done comedy at, you know, places where military veterans come together, like stand downs and assisted living and hospitals and wherever veterans are at, to make them laugh. And then afterwards, I say, this was not funny. All of these jokes started with a lot of pain. I just created comedy around it to make you laugh.
Yep.
So if you have anything in your life that you've been through and you haven't been able to make it funny yet, and you're ready to make it funny, come to the back of the room. I'll help you write jokes about it. And it's so rewarding to take people who have had a stigma of guilt or depression or so whatever, to open up and start looking at it from a comedic point of view. It's a healing thing.
And that old cliche, laughter is the best medicine. That the dopamine gets released, endorphins get released. I think we should be medical practitioners. I think people should be able to deduct their comedy tickets. Should be go towards their deductible for their health insurance. I seriously was trying to put together a plan to have comics and magicians on staff at hospitals on a pilot program. I could get the funding for it. I just had issues with getting the hospitals to come along. But you've done shows at hospitals. You've done shows, and as long as it's under control and it's a good thing. My plan was to have a magician, a close-up magician, or a G-rated family-friendly comic go from room to room. The nurses would point out, hey, you know, 3B needs some cheering up. Comic would go in there. It would be emotionally exhausting for the comic. You know, you'd be doing 30 sets a day.
Yeah.
A lot of times the same set, and each one has to be exuberant and so it was very exhausting. So I was looking for real money for the comics, and maybe put them on a 2-week rotation or a 30-day rotation or something like that, or even, you know, your Monday, your Tuesday, your Wednesday kind of thing. But and it's still a dream, not a huge dream, but it's a dream. It's something that I'd like to do, because if you can make them forget their problems for a little bit, you can make somebody who's in a lot of pain laugh.
Yes.
That's an accomplishment, and I've seen it time and time again, where comics nursing homes. You've done nursing homes. I did a show at a nursing home where I thought it was a gig from hell. I invited all these comics. They gave their own time, and we had a couple of seniors in the back who were ambulatory. Almost everybody else was in a wheelchair with their heads back. Some of them were in the straight wheelchair beds, and they all looked comatose. And we're doing I did my bit, and I'm just like, oh, this is, are they sleeping? I mean, I really felt horrible. Anyway, I got through it. The girls got through it. The other guys got through it, and I brought all the equipment. So they all left, and I'm tearing everything down, and I'm thinking, I got to apologize to everybody. I am so sorry you guys came down here. The nurses came over and said, the patients want to talk to you. So I'm like, okay. And some of these people that I thought were comatose, they thanked me for bringing them. They knew all of the comics' names. They were reciting some of their material, what their favorite jokes was. That Mark Schumacher. Mark Schumacher did this joke. Cindy Burns did this joke. Julie Kidd did this joke. I love the dancing mom. She was hilarious, and I'm just like, I actually had tears. They weren't like streaming down. I wasn't sobbing and all that, like old Yeller, But I mean, I was actually getting misty, and I'm just like, oh my God, they were in the moment. They were internally laughing, but because of their condition or whatever, we didn't know. I thought they were all sleeping, but they were awake. And I wound up doing I contacted all the comics and said I was going to apologize to you, but now I'm not. This is why. You know, it was an epiphany for me that
That's
that those people made a huge difference in those seniors' lives just for that little moment in time, a little piece of forget about your troubles, and it's a very noble profession. I know we get crapped on a lot as being a bunch of clowns who can't take life seriously and blah 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 blah, but and a lot of that is true. I mean, I don't know in your life how many times somebody said, "You're not on right now. You're not working. Can't you just be serious for a second?" And actually, we probably thought we were being serious, but
yeah. You know, what started me trying to make veterans laugh is one day I started comedy down at Aces in Murrieta. I think that's, you were there. I think that's
I
the
remember.
first time. Yeah. And so there, I was having coffee at a coffee shop, and a guy was dressed in his dress blues from the Marines, was all dressed up. And he was older. He got out his outfit and he could still wear it, so he wore it. And he said, "Aren't you the girl that's doing comedy?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, I have a problem. I'm so embarrassed. My retina is becoming detached and I'm depressed about it." And I thought, dear God, did he have to tell me now I'm depressed? And
Right.
him being upset made me, so imagine how probably family and friends have detached from him, is not just his retina, but all his friends if he's out depressing them. So I thought, what better gift could I do for him than to come up with a funny way to say that instead of this depressing way? And I said, "Would you mind if I try to come up with a funny way for you to tell that to people so you don't depress them?" And he said, "I would love that." So I go in the bathroom and I'm like, I'm not coming out of the bathroom till I come up with a funny way to say this. And I was in there like 10 minutes and it finally dawned on me. So I went up to him. I said, "I came up with a funny way for you to tell that to people." And he just couldn't wait for a different way to frame it.
Well, do you remember how you framed it?
Yeah, I said, you know, life's a bee, life's a bear. And the older we get, the more problems we get. I've got so many problems, even my retina has become detached.
Ah, that's funny. See, when you were talking about, you know, the guy came up to you and said his retina was detached, I'd say, so everything's blurry, and be like, yeah. I said, okay, you're one of the few allowed to see me naked. You know, that's where I was going to go. And then I thought, you know, you said you went into the bathroom and you weren't going to come out until you came up with a better way to explain comedically retina detachment. And I thought it was probably poor choice to say that you were really focused in the moment, but that might have set things the wrong way. But see, that's an example though where comedians have a hard time turning their brains off. Now, my day job, I'm a programmer for a medical instrument company, and I have to because nobody writes funny code. It just doesn't work, and it usually comes up with like really rude errors and stuff. So yeah, I've got to be total left brain during the day, and then once that. But I also work alone, so I'm at home, so I can make all the smartest comments I want. Only the dogs will go to HR, but it's hard to turn it off. My wife is finally, after 22 years, gotten used to the fact that I can't leave the checker at the grocery store until I've made her laugh. I try to get it out of the way right away, her or him. Just get it done because that's part of my daily bucket list. But sometimes it's a chore. It's a chore. How are you today? Sorry, I woke up today. That's always a good sign. You know, and like that didn't work. Okay, and then we just keep going on and going on. And oh, let me try this credit card. I just found it in the parking lot. Hopefully this one works. And but sometimes they don't laugh. You know, and I was like, okay. Then I start to panic. Oh my God, the cashier lady doesn't like me. She's going to give me a bad Yelp review. They should do that, by the way. You should be able to Yelp review customers.
That's a great idea.
You should. Waitresses should talk about, how this guy's a lousy tipper, and yeah, we should
I
get on.
bet they do it on Lyft. I bet they're talking about our lousy tips.
On what?
You know, the Lyft drivers, when we don't tip them, I bet they know.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, well, they just don't. That explains why they never come by my house anymore. Your Lyft driver will be there in 7 days. Oh, okay, great. He's coming by covered wagon, I guess, but I do live in the West. I don't know. I try to tip everybody, and everything's just so insanely expensive right now.
And everybody wants a tip.
We don't get. Have you ever got a tip?
Like,
I'm not talking about on your honeymoon or anything. I mean, have you ever got like tips for comedy? I did once. Well, I mean, unless I was doing a birthday show or where it's just me, but I remember I was at the Improv in Irvine, and it was my show, and this limo driver dropped off his people, and then he went and parked the limo, and he came back and got in line for a ticket because his people were going to watch the show, and then he was going to sit in the back and watch the show, and then when they were done, just before the show was done, he was going to run out and get the car and be waiting for them. And he came up to me and he gave me $20. The limo driver tipped me $20. He goes, I said, what are you doing? He goes, I can't get you a better seat. And he goes, no, just you're a comedian. You don't make anything.
oh, how nice.
Which, is, how long did it take how many years before you got your first paid gig as a comic?
About 7 years, really. Yeah, I would.
10 for me.
Wow.
Unless it was one of those bringers, which I don't.
Yeah, I've done a ton of bringers.
Did a bringer where they gave you $1 for every person? Yeah,
sometimes nothing, Eric. You can't get up on stage if you don't bring.
That was 30 years ago. And I did one bringer show. That was it. I got like $7. And I framed the check. And just like, I'm never doing this again. That's why one of the reasons I started producing my own shows. And then you remember as a new comic, how hard was it to get stage time? You were funny. You had a tight 5 minutes, and you worked years to come up with a tight 5 minutes. You were getting a laugh every 15 seconds. It wasn't controversial. It was broad spectrum humor. And where are you going to get a shot? You can get a shot at the coffee shop. You can get a shot in the hotel bar. But could you get up at the stage at a major comedy club? And that was tough. And so when I was starting to do my show, I would go around to the comedy teachers and see if they had any promising students, and then I'd go to their showcases and I'd give them 3 minutes. And I would tell the audience that they're brand new, but I thought they were funny. And I thought they get a chance to get up in front of 400 people and do their tight 3 minutes. And that opportunity, it existed at the bringer shows 30 years ago. It didn't exist here in this time. And so that's just something I wanted to do, because it was hard for me. It was hard for me to get stage time, quality stage. Anyone can get stage time. Go to an open mic, and at 2:00 in the morning, it's you, it's an exhausted bartender, and the janitor. That's all that's in the club. But you got your 5 minutes. Get up there, kill it. You're on a stage. You got stage time. I would rather do that in my bathroom holding a hairbrush as a microphone, which I have done, by the way.
Totally. Well, what's in the cards for you? What do you want to accomplish by the time you get to my age, 71, and you're ready to croak?
I'm almost there. 71 is not old. That's like I plan on living to be like 140. So 71 is just middle aged. So I wouldn't throw it out there. I don't know. Comedy wise, I'm happy where I'm at. I've done showcases where I've hosted and emceed and spotlit people for sitcoms and for cruise ships and things like that. And they're like, well, we'll do a bio page on you. And all I no, I don't want a sitcom. I don't want to be the A-lister. A long time ago, I realized I'm where I'm at. I'm happy where I'm at. My biggest goal was to get my own show at the Irvine Improv. And COVID kind of messed up things. I think it's done, but we'll see. Because COVID really threw a wrench into a lot of business plans, and I totally get it, and I'm fine with it. But that for me, that was my pinnacle, and I had it for 12 years.
Do you still have it?
No. Well, I mean, I did 4 this year. Normally, I would do 12, and I haven't been put in the rotation for 2023. They said, business is weird right now. I mean, so many businesses took such a hit from the lockdown, the pandemic, and then even post-pandemic, trying to get people to come in and congregate. Your available audience is shrunk because, and legitimately, there are a lot of people that have fears about being in close quarters with other people, and then you got people like me who bring it on. I'd be honored to get COVID from you. I've had COVID twice, and I'm already, I'm vaxxed and I'm boosted, but I'm not letting that slow me down. It's just like, no, I'm not going to be a hermit. That's going to make me sicker than anything else. But I'm very happy where I am. I MC events. I'd say easily 90% of what I do in comedy and it is volunteer. It's free.
Thank you so much for all you do.
You know what? That's not why that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it makes me feel good. I learned a long time ago, and people say this and it never clicked, that being in service of others. If you're a first responder, you're in service of others. If you're a doctor, you're in service for others, but you're also getting paid for it too. But it takes a particular mindset to do that, where your existence is to save other people. And I think that is way cool. I'm not running into a burning building. I'm not going to face down a gunman. I'd be curled up in a fetal position crying for my mommy at that point in time, or maybe I might even need a change of pants. That's not me. What I can do is I can go host the event, MC the event, drive up the silent auction, do a live auction, get humor, get people, suck money out of people, and do it for causes where they're equally motivated people that are dedicating their life to solve a particular problem. I told you about the sexually abused, disabled children with a normal or higher IQ. I do a charity event for a group, One Step Ministry. I've been doing their event for probably 7 or 8 years. I think I do 3 of them a year for them. Homeless single moms with teenage kids. Niche. They have issues with the shelters with the homeless moms and teenage kids. So this organization goes out there and fixes the problem, not just throws some money at it, fixes it. They solve it. And I love that. So I do their event. There's Vera Sanctuary in Trabuco Canyon, which is a sanctuary home for girls who've been rescued from sex trafficking. She's got like 150 girls there. And I did an event for them, a fundraising event. We wanted to get cars. We found a car dealer that said, hey, I need $1,500 a car. Really? In this day and age, you can get the cars for $1,500, but we got to raise the money. We raised a ton of money. I love that event. People that solve problem, rescues. I'll go to the rescue and say, give me your saddest story. The animal you got right now, saddest story. We've already done the dinner. We've already done the silent auction. We've already done the live auction. Now give me your saddest story. Okay, well, here's Daisy. She's a border collie. She was used as a bait dog in a dog fighting ring. And she's got multiple tears and broken bones, and it's going to be $4,000 in vet bills, and we're getting it all done. I said, okay, and I grab a bucket, and I would tell the story of Daisy. And I said, I will guarantee you that anything you put in this bucket will not go to admin, will not go to the food today. It will go directly to Daisy's surgery. I've had people write me $1,000 check. People are they're going through girls are going through their purse, throwing in all the cash. Guys are digging out cash out of their wallet. We get thousands and thousands of dollars, but I have to trust the charity that now here's a bucket of cash, Daisy, not the feed bill. Not it's because, and so the people that I work with, and I'm selective about who I work with, they have that mindset. They want to solve the problem. God bless March of Dimes. God bless American Cancer Society, but they're behemoths. They have an infrastructure. They got CEOs that make gazillions of dollars. I get it. That's not for me. I like the grassroots where you go in, you identify the problem, you solve the problem, and you follow through with it. And I'll give those people everything I have all the time because they're doing the crazy work. I got my niche. I can go in there. I'm not getting paid in money, but oh my God, the feeling that you get, you're high for days.
That
You
is
know how you
so
come off stage after you had an amazing set and you can't sleep for a couple hours, or you forget about going to bed. I'm going to be up till 2 because I had a killer set tonight. Imagine doing that and you didn't even tell one joke. You know, it's just, so it's kind of, I get, maybe I'm an addict. You know, maybe I'm a endorphin or a dopamine addict, but I love it. And I know a lot of people that do exactly the same thing I do. I can't do a gig, I'll call somebody and I'll say, hey, I can't do this. Can you? I'm in. And they'll do the same with me. Hey, look, I'm doing this thing, blah, blah, blah. And I don't trust anybody else to do it. Will you do it? And I'm like, I'm in. And then we don't poach each other's gigs. You know, I'm just a fill in. I'm a temp, but he's your guy until he doesn't want to do it or she doesn't want to do it anymore. But I would encourage every comic to get involved in the charity stuff. And there's a mercenary aspect of it too, because it's exposure. Everybody in that room that you're talking to for the charity works somewhere, has birthday parties, anniversary parties. I've done 2 comedy funerals.
Yep.
And I've done probably
think that's a
15 weddings.
fabulous idea.
Comedy funerals. I've done 15 or so weddings. And most of them, a lot of those are paid. That's because that's a specialty. So it's get out there. You don't just need exposure on the stage. Get exposed to people that see you for what you really are, and they see that you're funny. Doors will open.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
so encouraging. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Not a lot of people would.
You sharing your life and your phone call with Fritz Coleman. I mean, what else could
That
happen?
was cool.
Rita Redner's not going to call.
I asked Fritz if he could get Biden to call in, but he said he was going to work on it.
Thank you so much for the time you
Thank you,
donated.
Linda.
Thanks for making people laugh. Thanks for all your volunteer work and rescuing animals. I think you're a gem. You're a very
Jim.
bright gem.
It's Jim, not Jim. Jim.
Yeah, you're a
I am
gem. Yes, and you're very esteemed.
You know what? You're ahead. That's 2-1 now. Done this
Thank
before.
you so much, Jim
Thank you,
Taylor.
Linda. Take care.
Oh, where do you want people to follow you?
On Facebook is fine. I mean, I didn't even know that I had a Twitter account until somebody told me that my Twitter had been hacked, and I'm like, oh, that's right. I guess I signed up for that. But I'm doing a monthly show at the Camino Real Playhouse in San Juan Capistrano. Next show is January 21st. So I'm there once a month. That's the only comedy commitment I have right now on a regular basis. So they've contracted me for 12 shows for 2023.
I'll tell my sister and my brother-in-law to get all them people they know down there.
December 10th, come on down to Crown Valley Parkway in Laguna Niguel for the Laguna Niguel Holiday Parade. You can say hi to Fritz, and then come to the Swallows Parade March 25th. Dennis Quaid will be the Grand Marshal.
That's
And
so
great time.
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda.
Bye, Jim Taylor.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.